Here is the polished, fully punctuated and slightly expanded version of your script. I have enhanced the flow and added a bit of dramatic pacing to make it perfect for a YouTube voiceover, while keeping the exact meaning and tone you wanted. If you have been following the PGA Tour closely lately, like I have, you can feel that something massive is brewing behind the scenes right now. It feels like one of those pivotal moments where the entire direction of the tour might be about to shift. And today, we actually received two major pieces of news that could seriously reshape what the PGA Tour looks like in the next few years. We are not talking about small tweaks or minor schedule adjustments here. We are talking about foundational, structural changes that could affect how tournaments are played, how players qualify, and even how the entire season is organized. When I first started hearing what is being discussed, I honestly had to stop and think about it. Are we about to see a completely different version of the PGA Tour? One of these announcements explains exactly why the tour suddenly feels so much pressure to change right now, and the other reveals the specific bold ideas that could transform the competition itself. Some of these plans sound incredibly exciting, while others are honestly a little controversial. But if even half of these ideas become reality, the PGA Tour in a few years could look very different from the one we are watching today. So in this video, we are going to break down both of these big developments, what they actually mean for the players and the fans, and why the tour leadership believes this moment is absolutely critical for the future of professional golf. But before we jump in, do me a quick favor. If you are a real PGA Tour fan like me, take a second to hit the like button and consider subscribing to the channel. Golf Zone Talks is brand new, and we are trying to reach our first major milestone of 1,000 subscribers. The idea here is simple. This is a place where true fans of the PGA Tour can talk about everything happening in the sport, every single week. Now, let's get into the first big story, because this one really explains the mindset behind everything that is happening at the PGA Tour headquarters in Ponte Vedra Beach. The tour's new CEO, Brian Rolapp, delivered what they called a State of the Tour address. It lasted almost 50 minutes and included more than 30 questions from the audience. But the biggest takeaway from that entire session was very simple. Massive change is coming to the PGA Tour. What really stood out was that Rolapp directly addressed the question many fans have been asking: why change at all? Because if you think about it, the PGA Tour is still the biggest and most powerful circuit in professional golf. The purses are massive, the fields are incredibly strong, and the history of the tour is completely unmatched. From a business perspective, things are also looking strong. The tour recently secured a $1.5 billion private equity investment and continues to attract major corporate partners. So, the obvious question is, why mess with something that is still on top? Rolapp did not dodge the question. In fact, he pointed directly to the real issue, which is the high-stakes future of sports media. He explained that the United States sports media rights market is currently worth a staggering $30 billion. Out of that massive total, the National Football League already commands about $12 billion. According to Rolapp, the NFL has made it crystal clear that its long-term goal is to double that number. If that happens, the NFL alone could eventually be taking close to $20 billion out of that $30 billion pie. And that leaves roughly $10 billion to be scrapped over by every other sport combined. That is exactly where the pressure begins. Because the PGA Tour is not just competing with other golf leagues, they are competing for calendar dominance. The league that people inside the tour are watching very closely is Major League Baseball. There has been a growing consensus inside the tour offices that the PGA Tour should aim to completely own the summer sports calendar. That time of the year is where golf can potentially dominate the sports landscape. But Major League Baseball is already deeply established during that period. Just last November, MLB signed massive new media rights deals with ESPN, NBC Universal, and Netflix that will run through the 2028 season. Meanwhile, the PGA Tour currently has media deals with CBS Sports, NBC Sports, ESPN+, and the Golf Channel that run through 2030. So, what Brian Rolapp is trying to do right now is fiercely prepare the tour for the next massive round of media negotiations. The way fans consume sports is changing rapidly. Some fans still watch traditional television, while others stream absolutely everything online. Media companies themselves are also shifting through mergers, acquisitions, and the launch of new streaming platforms. Rolapp's message was very clear. If you are in the sports business right now, you have to make sure your product is as compelling as possible for both the fans and the media partners. That is exactly why the PGA Tour's Future Competitions Committee is working overtime on reimagining the tour schedule. Remember, Rolapp was previously the NFL's chief media and business officer before joining the PGA Tour. According to many insiders, that vast experience is exactly why he was handpicked for this CEO role. He understands the cutthroat economics of sports media better than anyone. From his perspective, the tour needs to move fast. The sooner they can prove that a redesigned, modernized schedule creates a stronger product, the stronger their leverage will be when the next media negotiations arrive. That brings us directly to the second major story from today. Rolapp did not just explain why change is coming. He also reveals several of the specific ideas that could completely reshape the PGA Tour itself. And some of these proposals are huge. The first proposal is what the Tour is calling a two-track season. The grand idea is to tighten the main PGA Tour calendar so that the primary season runs from late January through early September. Within that season, there would be two distinct competitive tracks. The first track would be an elevated elite tier that exclusively includes the best players and the absolute largest purses. The second track would include players fiercely competing for the opportunity to move up into that elevated tier. The elite schedule would feature approximately 21 to 26 events. This group would include the 4 major championships, the Players' Championship, either the President's Cup or the Ryder Cup depending on the year, and the 3 FedEx Cup Playoff events. The key feature connecting these two tracks would be promotion and relegation. Players who perform well would move up into the elite tier, while players who struggle could fall back down to the secondary level. Rolapp explained that the philosophy behind this system is pure meritocracy. The players who perform the best inside the ropes should earn the right to compete in the biggest events. Another major change being discussed involves field sizes. The Tour is heavily leaning toward more consistent fields of around 120 players, complete with a cut after 2 rounds. This would effectively end the recent experiments with smaller fields and no-cut events that heavily resembled the LIV golf format. Another bold idea is to create a massive West Coast season opener. The Tour desperately wants a marquee event on the West Coast that finishes in prime time for viewers on the East Coast. The ultimate goal is to give the PGA Tour season a much bigger, more explosive, and widely watched launch. The Tour is also actively looking at adding more tournaments in major metropolitan markets, such as New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, San Francisco, Boston, and Washington, D.C. The reasoning behind this is straightforward. Larger markets mean larger live audiences, stronger sponsorship opportunities, and far greater visibility for the sport as a whole. Another concept Rolapp heavily emphasized is scarcity. The idea is not necessarily to reduce the total number of tournaments, but to make every single event feel infinitely more meaningful and more competitive. Promotion and relegation could play a massive role in that, because every single tournament result could directly impact whether a player moves up or down in the financial structure. The Tour is also evaluating ways to inject more excitement into the postseason, and one highly anticipated possibility that has already been discussed is introducing match play as part of the Tour Championship format. During the Q&A session, Rolapp also addressed several other burning topics. He noted that the possibility of the Players' Championship officially becoming a 5th major is not something the PGA Tour can decide all on its own. He also indicated that inviting LIV golf players into the Players' Championship is not currently a priority for the Tour. And in a surprising twist, he mentioned that the Tour Championship might not remain at East Lake in Atlanta forever. Perhaps the most revealing moment of the entire session came when Rolapp explained exactly how he wants the Tour to approach big decisions going forward. He said something that many frustrated fans will probably appreciate. The sports business is not that complicated. If you think like a fan, 9.5 times out of 10, you will probably make the right decision. Of course, many of these grand ideas are still being refined. Rolapp emphasized that these plans are preliminary, and the full rollout of these structural changes may not happen until the 2028 PGA Tour season. But one thing is already abundantly clear. The PGA Tour is preparing for a radically different future. When you consider the rapidly changing media landscape, the fierce competition for viewers, the lingering pressure from rival golf leagues, and the absolute need to keep fans engaged, it becomes much easier to understand why the Tour leadership believes this is the exact moment they must act. For fans like us, this could mark the thrilling beginning of a brand new era for the PGA Tour. We could see more elite matchups, bigger stadium events, and much clearer, higher stakes for the players every single week. At the same time, it also raises important questions about honoring tradition, protecting opportunities for rising players, and exactly how professional golf will evolve. One thing is for certain. Over the next few years, we are going to watch the PGA Tour completely reinvent itself in real time. And as fans of the Tour, that is going to be a fascinating journey to follow. Now, I really want to hear your opinion on all of this. What do you think about these massive potential changes? Do you like the idea of promotion and relegation on the PGA Tour? And do you think the Tour should aggressively focus on dominating the summer sports calendar? Let me know down in the comments, because I would love to hear what other die-hard PGA Tour fans think about this shift. If you enjoyed this breakdown, please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to Golf Zone Talks. The channel is brand new and we are pushing hard to reach our first major goal of 1,000 subscribers. And before we sign off, I want to mention one more quick thing. If you enjoy the content here on Golf Zone Talks and you want to support the channel in another way, YouTube may show a few golf-style products right here under the video, such as hats, t-shirts, and other gear that are perfect for fans who follow the Tour every week like we do. If you ever feel like picking up one of those items, it is a super simple way to support the channel while also showing off your love for the game of golf. There is absolutely no pressure. Just watching the videos already helps the channel a ton. But if you decide to check those out, it genuinely helps us continue growing and reaching that 1,000 subscriber goal. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.